Good evening, Temecula, and good evening, commissioners and staff. This is the REDI Commission, and I'm your chair, Tiffany Baker, and I will call this meeting to order. And we will start with the flag salute from Commissioner Huerta, Vice Chair Huerta.
Thank you. Okay. Place your hand over your heart. Ready, begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you so much for that. And now we will start off with the roll call. Erica, how are you doing today?
Great, thank you. Chair Baker,
Here.
Commissioner Faulkner,
Here.
Commissioner Harris,
Here.
Vice Chair Huerta,
Here.
Commissioner Pastorian,
Here.
Commissioner Steed,
Here.
and Commissioner Wilson.
Here.
Thank you.
Okay, well then we're going to turn it over to Randy for our proclamation of Pride for month for Temecula Valley and Great Oak High School. I'm trying to read here on my screen. Yes, good thing I remember. Students. There you go, Randy.
Thank you, Chair Baker. And I will ask Chris, who is helping us tonight with IT, to go ahead and put on the screen the Pride Proclamation. I wanted to share with the commission that this last Tuesday night, the mayor and city council, for the first time in our 32-year history, went ahead and issued a proclamation for Pride Month. And I'm not going to read the whole proclamation to you all. I just wanted to report back. As all of you know, Pride does commemorate the June 1969 uprising at Stonewall in New York City, and is in support of our LGBTQ plus community and allies. So we had actually our Temecula Valley and Great Oak High School student representatives from Great Oak High School. We actually had Isabella Collins as the representative for the Gay Straight Alliance Student Club, and her advisor was Aaron Andrade. And then from Temecula Valley High School, we had Sadako Warmbier, who was the representative of the Pride Intersectional Group, student group on campus there at Temecula Valley High School. And her faculty advisor was Kara Ramsey. And both Isabella and Sadako were very grateful that their community was seeing them and recognizing them in this way. In fact, the ladies provided an amazing inspirational message, both of them. And that, of course, can be viewed on our city's website, and the meeting video at temeculaca.gov, and it is towards the beginning of the meeting, and they each spoke roughly for about 3 minutes or so each. So they were very encouraged, as were the advisors, and we received some feedback from the community already on this as well. So remember, this was one of those items that came at this commission's recommendations. So commission, thank you for this recommendation, and also the AAPI month that we did last month. And this is your recommendations at work here. So thank you. Back to you, Chair Baker.
Thank you so much, Randy. And that is what this commission is about, making sure that everyone in our community feels welcome, feels safe, feels seen, and feels heard. And so we appreciate the city and its inclusivity. And thank you for that proclamation. We're going to now go to the next item, the consent item to approve. Did I pass? No, public comments. I always go past those public comments on this agenda. I caught myself. Erica, are there any public comments?
Yes, we have one.
Okay.
I'll go ahead and read the rules. A total of 30 minutes is provided for members of the public to address the Race, Equity, Diversity, and Inclusion Commission on items that appear on the consent calendar or a matter not listed on the agenda. Each speaker is limited to 3 minutes. For all business items on the agenda, each speaker is limited to 5 minutes. For this meeting, public comments may be submitted and read into the record pursuant to the important notice provided at the top of this agenda. And the one public comment we have was signed by CB Holmes. To the REDI Commission, as a Temecula resident and former teacher, I want to echo and make relevant this message from a current teacher to you, as well as the parents, teachers, and students who may be listening. I'm going to give a message of encouragement to parents and teachers and students who are too afraid to come and speak forward. Parents, the longer you wait and you don't hold commissions like this, as well as your child's schools accountable, give these guys more time to dictate what's best for our town based on skin color, along with what's best for your child's physical, mental, and emotional health. Don't be afraid to speak out for your kids because they are voiceless and they rely on you. You should be afraid of them. You should be afraid of them rooting for socialism by the time they get to middle school. Teachers, it may seem that our careers have come to a dead end, but I'm here to remind you, we don't work for the school board, nor should we be held to the recommendations of commissions like this one. We work to mold the next generation of well-rounded American patriots. So don't give up, because it is up to us. Students, you are on the front lines of these indoctrination camps. Challenge the staff when you are presented with ludicrous statement, and do not allow anybody to tell you that you cannot accomplish anything because of your skin color, or to hate yourself because of your skin color. Students, it is up to you to be the next generation of victims or victors. That's it.
Okay, thank you, Erica. All right, well, we'll move on to the consent calendar. May I have a motion to approve the minutes for the May 13th, 2021 meeting?
Motion to approve.
May I have a second?
Second.
I'll be,
Erica, can you do the roll call?
Okay, I have Commissioner Pastorian with the motion and a second from Wilson. Commissioner Wilson.
Yes.
Roll call will be Chair Baker,
Aye.
Commissioner Faulkner.
Aye.
Commissioner Harris,
Aye.
Vice Chair Huerta,
Aye.
Commissioner Pastorian,
Aye.
Commissioner Steed,
Aye.
and Commissioner Wilson.
Aye.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. Motion carries. All right, now we're gonna get on down to some good nitty-gritty business. Okay, Randy, let's review. I guess I shouldn't be so excited, huh? Let's review. No. Let's review and update the Race, Equity, Diversity, and Inclusion Initiative and provide general recommendations regarding the addition to the equity value. I am very excited about this opportunity. Randy, we're gonna turn it over to you to get right into it. This is the best meeting yet. Well, we've had some good ones, but it's my birthday meeting too. So that's why, to do this day. Go ahead, Randy.
There you go. No, absolutely. Thank you, Chair Baker. You're absolutely right. We've now gotten to that point where we've had our internal departmental presentations. We've provided some recommendations on some time-sensitive things, including Friendship Park and a few other things that were on the agenda. And now for this meeting and next month's meeting, we will actually be focusing in on an equity value for the city of Temecula. So I will go ahead, and of course, happy birthday to you on your birthday weekend. And so I will go ahead and screen share at this point, and we'll get going on this. All right. So I am hoping that everybody can see that, the presentation. Are we good to go? If I can get a thumbs up or some sort of acknowledgement. Okay, looks like we're good. All right, great. So tonight, Madam Chair and Commissioners, you have on your agenda the consideration of a draft equity value as a core value for the city of Temecula. So just as a little bit of background and to go ahead and center us before we get into dialogue, I wanted to remind everybody that the City Council approved the overall REDI initiative last July 14, 2020. So next month will actually be our 1-year anniversary of the city's REDI initiative. And today happens to be the 6-month anniversary of the REDI Commission itself. You have been meeting since January, so congratulations on that. The REDI initiative overall was based on some core principles around normalizing the conversation around race, equity, diversity, and inclusion, operationalizing some action, and then organizing a sustainable effort to ensure that these matters are actually incorporated in the long-term policies, procedures, considerations for equity for not only now, but well into the future. So as a part of phase 3, that organizing sustainable effort, the City Council provided direction to go ahead and add an equity value to demonstrate the city's long-term commitment to equity for all residents in the city in our quality of life master plan. Now, currently, our quality of life master plan has 6 core values. And I'm going to roughly touch on those values now. I know a lot of you have seen these and some members of the public may have already seen them, but for the record and the benefit of those that have not, I'm going to go ahead and touch on those now so that you can start thinking about how an equity value already is referenced, how equity is already referenced in some of these core values, but also how it can be a standalone and meld in nicely with the existing current 6 core values. So the first core value is a healthy and livable community. That particular core value states that a city is one that has all the elements that make up the community's quality of life. We hear that a lot in Temecula, and that includes the building and natural environment, the economic and educational opportunities, access to cultural, religious, recreational, shopping and entertainment resources, and the ability to have a healthy and safe lifestyle. So you'll see there's some REDI overlap already in just that very first existing core value. The second existing core value is economic prosperity. And that's referred to as the economy is the foundation for Temecula's long-term prosperity and well-being. We know that, and we definitely have a strong economic engine that is here in Temecula and the valley at large as well. A thriving, resilient, and adaptable economy provides a high quality of life for residents, good jobs with opportunities for advancement, supportive climate for businesses and entrepreneurs, and a high quality of public services. So the third value is a safe and prepared community. So this is a livable community that is one of the city's most important obligations. The community's perception of safety and security is critical to its quality of life. You will recall a couple of weeks ago when we had the Versailles Sheriff's Office they had mentioned that their focus on not only the actual safety, but the perceived safety. So you'll see that is already in the existing 6 core values, and there's already kind of a little bit of a tie-in there. It is important to address and prevent both the reality and perception of disorder within a community. The next existing core value is transportation, mobility, and connectivity. We actually had our Public Works Director that talked a little bit about this, and that means that we are moving people and goods efficiently, safely, and cost-effectively throughout the community. And we have transportation choices and well-planned networks. Connectivity means that we are providing residents with access to good jobs, housing choices, neighborhoods, quality schools and medical facilities, shopping, restaurants, recreation, and the goods and services that make the city a desirable and livable place to be. And that very last sentence, again, already has kind of a little bit of a crossover. It also means making sure that everyone has equal access to these assets. So some of that, again, already exists. A sustainable city. So this is the 5th core value, and this is one that conducts its daily business and plans for the future, dedicated to these principles, and supports residents and businesses to adopt sustainable practices. It is interconnected with 3 vital systems: a prosperous economy, healthy environment, and an equitable community, which is what we currently refer to as the 3 E's. And then my personal favorite, although I like all the rest too, but this one is specific, an accountable and responsive city government. One that sets a standard for excellence and governance of the city. It embodies leadership that is accessible to the residents, businesses, and employees. It is transparent in its decision-making. It is committed to the effective and efficient delivery of services that the community values, is a steward of the city's human and fiscal resources. It demonstrates a culture of leadership that helps the community navigate through change, and we have had a lot of change. And it also provides an opportunity for residents to be engaged and involved in their community. So you can very clearly see why that happens to be my favorite. So again, these are the existing 6 core values. Now, one might say, okay, these are these values. Well, what do you actually do with these values other than put them, in a document quality of life master plan? Well, these core values are actually referred to year round, every day, on a regular basis in the delivery of our services and programs to the community. They are actually directly tied to our annual departmental goals. So when we in our budget go ahead and put forth our departmental goals, and we have to actually align them with one of the core values. It is tied to other community plans. So whether that is, a senior master plan, or whether that is bikes and trails master plan, or the general plan, those core values are connected to that. It is directly tied to the allocation of economic, i.e. budget, and human resources as well. So when we go through the budget process, those core values are tied and referenced in. And it's also the QLMP core values are also utilized by the City Council in their policy discussions and direction as they make decisions on behalf of the community, and in many, many other settings. So this is really that guiding map that helps us move our community forward. So that being kind of the background, I do want to say that, when the City Council adopted the REDI initiative last year, they went ahead and in their resolution 2056, they assigned specific definitions to diversity, inclusion, and equity. And here are those definitions. So as you move forward thinking about what an equity value could look like, this is the definition that the City Council has already approved for equity. And I wanted to put up the diversity and inclusion definitions as well, because they are not necessarily independent of one another, and there is crossover and tie-in and overlap between all 3 of them. But focusing on that last one, equity means the commitment to work on policies that may direct or indirectly discriminate on a variety of factors, and provide an opportunity for all persons to succeed based on what their needs are to achieve that success. So that is the context in which the City Council last year was moving forward and giving the direction for an equity value. Now, we are not cutting edge on this front, but we are also not lagging on this front. In fact, earlier this morning, I was on the ICMA's annual first inaugural equity summit. And it was very obvious. There was approximately 300 or so of practitioners in government, myself included, that are working in communities across the nation right now, in cities, towns, villages, boroughs, in the equity space. And there were cities and towns and villages and boroughs that were ahead. They had been already working in this space for a few years, some even longer. And there were those that were just starting like last month. So we fall somewhere in the middle. So I wanted to give you a sense of what a couple of other cities, this is not It's really just to get your juices flowing on this, on what other cities have adopted. So in Buena Park, they just adopted theirs in March of this year. And they said that they will continue to actively focus on equity and inclusion in their institutions, policies, and programs, and will continue to engage and protect the community voice and work with others to close the gaps of inequality for the benefit of all residents of Buena Park. Portland says equity, access, and the removal of institutional and systemic barriers to resources and opportunities are essential in diversifying their workforce and for the public good. And their vision is to lead people, cultivate change, and develop a culture of innovation, inclusion, and inspiration to strengthen their city and their community. And then Dallas says that they understand the diverse needs of the community they serve, and their equity goal is to ensure everyone has access to opportunities necessary to satisfy their essential needs. So this is just a very small sampling. There are a ton of them out there. So what tonight is about is a free-flowing conversation with amongst the commission to we just want to hear your general collective thoughts on equity. We want to hear, what do you collectively and as individual commissioners think that an equity value could be? Why is an equity value important? And how would we measure success on an equity value? And the idea is just to let you guys have a free-flowing conversation tonight and really capture your dialogue, your thoughts, your recommendations into then a maybe one or two draft equity values that we could bring back to you at the next meeting, at your next meeting, for you to then go ahead and formally adopt the draft equity value. It would then go to the Blue Ribbon Committee, and our representative to the Blue Ribbon Committee is Commissioner Wilson. And then the Blue Ribbon Committee would go ahead and forward that equity value and consider it along with anything else they are doing. They are doing a lot of things on the broader QLA pre-process to the City Council. And then the City Council will actually approve the final QLMP, Quality of Life Master Plan refresh, as well as a part of that refresh, the seventh value as an equity value. So that's overall kind of the big picture here. So Chair Baker, I will turn it back over to you to facilitate a dialogue on these three items. And I will go ahead and take the screen down, but if you need me to keep it up, you can go ahead and give me that direction as well.
No, I took a picture of the question so I can ask them.
Hi, Randy, can you go back to the city's definition of equity, please?
Sure.
Thank you.
Hold on just a second. There it is. All right. Be able to see that? I'm sorry, Ivy, you're on mute.
I'll take a picture of it so it'll be faster.
Oh, no worries, no worries. And this is in that resolution. So, and how this came to be was through conversation and research and discussion and approval through the city council, because they wanted to not be clear in their resolution of how they were defining and utilizing these three terms. All right. Chair Baker.
Yes.
Are we good?
Oh, yes.
Commissioner Harris, you're good? Okay, so I will stop sharing then. And I will ask Madam Chair to go ahead and have you facilitate the dialogue.
Well, the first question is, so we're just taking one question at a time. And what is it as a value? What is equity as a value to you? I guess that's anyone want to start?
I can start. I feel like it's to be fair, impartial, just make sure all voices are heard. I really liked one of the examples Director Joel shared about removing the barriers. I really like that. But yeah, equity is just making sure we're inclusive of everyone and not favoring or giving preference to one group or another. And that's my first thought.
Commissioner Steve?
For me, thinking about it, and it's a really tough one because it's very complex, but I feel it's about meeting people where they are. So not where we perceive they should be, not where they think they're not, or not where they think they are, but where they actually are. So I think that it obviously is going to take a lot of work, but I think our goal, and I think in the REDI Commission, we've talked about this a lot, is the ability to hear people when they speak. And I think the REDI Committee is wrapped around the ability to hear people when they speak. And so if we hear them when they speak, they're going to tell us where they're at, so we can start from somewhere to get them to where we want them to be. We want their voices to be heard. We want them to feel included.
I think that's good. I'm thinking about what you're saying. So Commissioner Pastorian?
I agree completely with Commissioner Steed in terms of meeting people where they are. I think that everybody certainly has, especially when you're talking about a personal core value to somebody, comes from different places and are in different places in that. But at the end of the day, what is written into this becomes what we would like and desire to see, the standard of behavior, right? That's what we're really trying to achieve, is where we want people to be. Meeting them where they are now is absolutely a must, and that's where I agree with Commissioner Steed. But in terms of writing that value, we are creating, you know, or identifying what that value might be and how equity fits into that is absolutely creating that standard of behavior for the future. So, you know, identifying what that might look like as we move forward in this discussion, I think looking at it from that lens might help as well.
Okay. Commissioner Harris?
Hi, I really liked Commissioner Steed's definition of equity, but I think from my understanding of like what equity is, I always use it in contrast to equality, right? So there's this perception of everything needs to be equal. Sorry,
Right.
my stand fell a little bit. Everything needs to be equal for everyone, but equity acknowledges that the institutional, and I loved that, the institutional and systematic barriers affect different individuals in different, of different backgrounds. So someone who has gone through barriers because of their socioeconomic background needs something different from the city than someone who you would say may have barriers because of their sexual orientation. So I really liked the city's, it's that indirectly discriminate on a variety of factors, because there are a variety of factors that affect everyone differently. So it is meeting people where they're at, but it's this acknowledgement that everyone's background is different and they need different things from the city. And it is the city's responsibility, or our collective responsibility, in order to provide individuals with their specific needs to ensure that they succeed. So that's how I see equity. It's acknowledging different groups of individuals have different backgrounds and different sets of barriers. And we have to, like I said, meet them where they're at, or understand and empathize with those backgrounds, and listen to hear what those individuals need in order to succeed.
Commissioner Wilson? She had a hand up, Commissioner Faulkner.
I did. Sorry. Yeah, I did.
Mhm.
And I just want to agree with everybody, everything that you guys said, because basically I wrote the same thing. Equity extends the concept of equality to include providing various levels of support based on the individual's need and their ability. And I don't know if you guys can see this. Uh-oh. You see it? Nope. Wish you guys could see it, because basically it just shows how, and I'll give you an example. There is equality, and there is a 6-foot guy standing next to probably an 8-year-old girl, and then standing next to a kid that's in a wheelchair. Well, that's equality, but equity is building a ramp for the kid that's in the wheelchair to be at the same level looking over that fence as the 6-foot person, and then providing 2 step stools for the 8-year-old girl so that they all can see at the same level over the fence and watch the baseball game. And that's what equity is. So I love the concept that we're providing, where we're meeting the individual at the need, where their need is. And that's where you have the value of equity. And that's all I have to say.
Commissioner Faulkner, I'm not ignoring any of you.
No,
I'm hearing what you're saying and I'm writing so I can, so I'm not looking at you. If I'm not looking, I'm not being rude, excuse me. I was looking down. Commissioner Faulkner, thank you. Commissioner Wilson.
thank you for writing all this. Well, that's a hard act to follow. All of you have really defined the equity value pretty good. So I just wrote down a couple words. I won't be long-winded. So I think equity value means a government that is compassionate towards its citizens, right? I think it starts with compassion. I think it also is inclusive in all socio-economic abilities and opportunities to support its citizens. An equitable value is centered around trust in your leaders in your in your city, and are providing leadership before you. So it engages with love in all dealings with its citizens, no matter where they come from. I think equitable value was that. And I think an equitable value engages all voices, right? So no one left behind, no one marginalized in their voice, right? So we hear all voices and we make an impact and direct what we're doing around those voices, and no one seems to be left out. And last but not least, I think an equitable value respects human dignity. It's centered around human dignity, which centered around the things that we're talking about here. Chair Baker, those are the things that I think the equitable value stands out to me. Thank you.
Okay. Well, my mind wants to ask 50,000 questions of you, because the reason why I said this is the best one for me personally, because I get to do what I do, which is take a team and come together with something. So it's a personal joy for me to do this, because I'm so excited, it just really excites me. So if we're taking the first question is, what is the value, right? And so what it sounds like to me, and you guys can say back, it sounds like everyone is saying we need to value people. And I do think that people often think, well, yeah, duh, but not necessarily. That's why we exist. Because when we look at what a value is going to be, it says, it identifies what's valuable within it. So for us, it's our citizens. And what do we want our citizens to have? But we want to, so the citizens is the value to me. Well, my heart for the people. I cry all the time for things, people I don't even know. But to me, what do we want our citizens to have? And I think the basic value of saying you matter as a citizen of Temecula. How does that look? And then us making an effort. I love what you all said about, first of all, for each citizen to have the social and economic opportunities based on their own barriers. That looks very different than we have a business summit and everyone's welcome. versus we have a business summit and we want to make sure certain people groups have opportunity to learn, to engage, to grow, and to have access. Now, I know this conceptually just because I'm a sociologist by trade and by heart. So the study of human nature, my question back then to this commission is, how do we put that in a language that when you see it walking, you know that's equity in Temecula? How do we do that? That's as a value. How can we look at an action and say that's equity? And one of the things I would like to point out is I love making sure people, when I teach about this subject matter, is people understand the difference between being equal and being equitable, because we do not need the same things. So therefore, to me, somehow we got to put in a mechanism that engages us. So maybe equity is engaging diverse members of the community. Again, I don't need the ramp, but I definitely may be a little shorter and I need the stoop. So, but you can't tell me I made the ramp and so everyone is taken care of. Does that make sense? Let's get some thoughts around that. Commissioner Pastorian, you have your hand up.
Thank you, Chair Baker. I was listening to everybody, and I do go back to the, creating that piece of standard behavior, but at the same time, what Commissioner Wilson said, and I know the image well that you were showing, and I'm not sure if the image, the one that you had, is the two boxes or the three. There's actually three, right? So there's equality, there's equity, and then there's the last one that shows justice, which for us would be, there's an additional one too, Commissioner Wilson, that shows the last one, which is justice, and that one would be inclusion. And I think inclusion becomes our measurable goal, right? Like that is how I think we identify it. Like you were saying, when you see it walking, how do we know? When we see inclusion happening, we know we've hit the mark, right? We know that we have succeeded in our actions and what we've done. So obviously everybody mentioned the same things, and I would agree. I mean, it starts with understanding. Obviously this group has an understanding, but bringing that to the things that we value, the people, like you said, Chair Baker, I think is important to create that level of understanding and close the gaps. I think that was one of the pieces that Randy mentioned. But closing the gaps would also be another way for us to identify and measure our successes, right? And knowing what those gaps are. Obviously, like I said, inclusion is the easiest one because that's a goal, right? We want to be inclusive of everyone and everything, but identifying those diverse needs and closing those gaps, I think, to be successful is going to be an inclusive community, and that's what we want to see, and that's our measurable goal there, certainly.
Yes, Commissioner Harris.
Hi, thank you, Commissioner Pastorian. I thought your points were really spot on. But I think for me, when I think about equity in the city, I really want it to be an action word. And then, or like an action phrase definition that we come up with that has kind of at the end, kind of as a result, we have inclusion. But at first we did this. So I kind of want to go back to the city's definition, because I think of it, it's an action, the way that they put it, it's an action. Equity means the commitment to work on policies that may directly or indirectly discriminate. So the one thing that I would change is the work on part, to work on policies. So are we eliminating policies that may have directly or indirectly discriminated against an individual? Yes, in essence, we would hope to eliminate, to remove, to maybe reassess, to focus on, identify, that might be a good word, identify policies that discriminate, whether, by accident or not directly or indirectly. Sorry, I don't want to say by accident, but I really want it to be action-based. We are making a decision as policymakers when they go back and they use this to form policy, or just as individuals, to stop institutional, structural, indirect, direct discrimination against others, and as a result, creating a more inclusive city where everyone is heard and everyone feels that they have the resources necessary to create the life that they want. That's, sorry, I'm, what is it? When you're a pastor, I'm like preaching for myself with my
You preaching yourself happy. It's all right.
Yeah, I'm like,
I
I'm like
appreciate that.
hyping
You know.
myself up with my words.
You preaching yourself happy. That's what we say as pastors.
I know, Commissioner Harris, you need an amen? Is that what
Yeah.
you're
Yeah,
saying?
that's
You got one, girl.
Yeah,
Amen. You got an amen from me. Well, before we go any further, I do not want to forget this in my facilitating the dialogue. No matter what we have in wording and language that we come up with, our request, it is very important to me, and why I think it's going to number 2 of why it's important that we use the language of social and economic opportunity. That is very important to me. Because to me, you really can't have true equity if everyone in your city doesn't have social and economic opportunity. So I want to just make sure my personal request, my personal heart, because to me, Temecula, I know everyone has their own thoughts about Temecula, but we're here because we love Temecula. But even in what you love, how can you make it better? How can you make it better for your children? And I think a lot of the issues, like even the housing market that we're talking about, that we really have no control over, they've told us, look, there's no land, the prices are going up, it is what it is, right? So therefore, we're going to have to create some kind of economic opportunities for our children different than ourselves to even continue on to live here and have this as their community. And you're going to always have to give people economic opportunity, no matter where you are, to have a thriving city. And so I think that at the very least, we should consider to make sure we have something like that into our equity statement, because that's something in action. We can measure that. We can look back and say, how many diverse groups of people did we allow or empower or enable to have economic and social opportunity in our city? So, Commissioner Wartha.
So along those lines, I think we could tie that into the prosperity value that's already part of the city's, one of the city's core values. And I'm sorry, Randy, I don't remember which one that was. But as Chair Baker is talking about social and economic opportunities, I think that would tie in well with some of that, with that value, in my opinion.
Chair Baker, can you, I think we all have an understanding of the economic opportunities. Can you say what the social opportunities in your mind, what that looks like?
It's vast. So I'm gonna ask Commissioner Faulkner to help me with what he, because these are his words, I just agree, but I will tell you my own words or my own thoughts about it, because mine is more, so I see the people and I see that the people don't have social opportunity to heal. It's not acceptable to say I have a problem and I'm hurting. But so we have social barriers to when people are struggling. Those are usually the population that I have served. When people are having struggles as families, where do you go and not feel ashamed? Where do you go and say that my kid needs additional supports and I don't know where to go? So that social piece, and it also looks like having a social environment that is readily known, so where diverse groups of people can go. It's Pride Month, so let me give you an example. When we did the vaccinations, there was a sensitivity to the fact that the LGBTQ community did not feel safe or comfortable and going to some of the vaccine sites. Every city, in my opinion, that acknowledged that, someone had insight to see its residents and to say, this is a group that needs an additional service, because someone is always looking for those groups to help. So for me, that was very good when I saw on the news that they had special sites that they had put together to make the community, the LGBT community, feel comfortable, welcome, and accepted. But someone had a voice to say, look, our community needs something a little different for this. Can we do something? And clearly government was receptive, or it helped to engage or enable that process, whether with this messaging, whether it was partnering with other groups that were doing it in their cities. So in my mind, that's how that looks. I don't know if that helps you. That's those type of things.
No, it really did. It's huge because we all see things through different lenses, right? And I can't see it through yours. It's just not possible. We've lived different lives, but I want to know what that is. And so I can truly understand it and we can really make a difference. So yeah, you really put the words to it. Thank you. I appreciate that.
Okay. Commissioner Falconer, of course, these were, your words I agree with. So surely your thoughts.
Yeah, Chair Baker, I think you did a really good job of explaining it as well. And we've all seen through our lenses, cities in parts of areas where there has been no inclusion in regards to social economics. So do we want to be the city that gets ahead of it by putting it in writing to ensure that that opportunity is there? Inclusion means that there are people that understand the information, that are given the information, that are people sometimes that are not. How do we make that connection, ensure they're educated and added to that discussion to feel that they're included? So again, from a social standpoint and an economic standpoint, we want to make sure that all people, have the opportunity. So how do we ensure that that's an inclusive environment, not that certain people know and they benefit from it, and other people that it's there and they don't know and they can't benefit from it. So
Right.
How do we make it inclusive? How do we educate? How do we share? How do we get information out to ensure that everyone has the ability to reach in and be successful and be put on a path that gets them to a point where they're independent and able to, gain on what they've learned in both that social and economic environment, to not be at a point where they're behind trying to catch up. So it just the depiction that we showed earlier with the boxes, and initially that Commissioner Wilson showed with the boxes. Oh, it's in the background now. Great. Thanks, I can see it now. It looks good. So it's the same thing. So how did some of them understand that the boxes were there, and then they could have the box to get there? Some knew that the boxes were there and they could go grab them, but others didn't know that there were boxes to go grab. So there's the opportunity there. So how do we make that as an example, an opportunity to ensure that social economic opportunity there, that they know that all of us have access to the boxes. And you can take as many boxes as you want to get up to my height to look over the fence. So that's what I want to just add to what Chair Baker had said as well. That picture really depicts, and you can really pull a lot out of that picture in regards to what we're talking about as well. Well, thanks.
And then who, but is someone going to care that the boxes are needed? That's equity to me. That's the equity as a value, that we have to put some mechanism in an equity value that, as Commissioner Harris said, that causes us to act. So it will not just be in the archives of, but then we'll go back, and say, well, we're going to do this. So I like that. What are we going to do to act to create those boxes for people? Commission. Brent, who do I call you? You have so many roles. I watch you here, there. I know you miss Mrs. Joel, but what? Executive Director Joel. That's who you are. Yes.
Randy is fine. So I do want to, because you guys are having this discussion, and Commissioner Wilson has brought in that picture. And Commissioner Harris also mentioned institutional and systemic. I'm going to throw something else in there for you guys to consider. And that is, especially as it relates to the systemic and the institutional, why is there a fence there in the first place?
That's what we say in our world. That's what we say. Why is there a fence there in the first place?
You are considering all of this, tie that into it too, because you know what, it's not just about providing resources to go ahead and mitigate the existing condition, but we need to mitigate the condition itself. So something else for you all to consider.
And to me, the barrier, you know, I was just talking to actually Donna Leon at the school district about this. You know, we were talking about this very picture. This, if you're in this world with children and social work and social services, this picture, it makes you angry. Let me see, because we want to tear the fence down. That's what she's saying. Like, we've come to the place now where we understand the fence should never have existed in the first place. And now that we know that it does, we're acknowledging that it does, because we want everyone to be able to play on the field. We want everyone to be able to walk on that field and play and not watch from the sidelines. That's a different level of engaging, that we're bringing everyone off the sidelines and removing the barriers for them even to play, and versus upholding the fence and saying how we build a ramp. Go ahead, Commissioner Harris. You're back on mute.
I literally, that button, I don't know why I can play with it all day, but I just wanted to thank Randy, because that was such an absolutely brilliant point. It was a brilliant point, because, you know, we're talking about in the future, it really is important that we acknowledge and recognize the systemic barriers and the institutional barriers that existed before, that we must tear down, that we must not only acknowledge, but rectify. And I think that you opened it up to a really good conversation about, I think you said, why is it like offensive to have those conversations? That's what you said.
No, the fence
No.
becomes offensive to us. The fence itself.
Oh, why the fence becomes offensive to us?
No, that it is offensive. That
it is offensive.
Right, we want to remove
That's
the fence now. Yes, we want it, in the social service world, in the equity world, everyone is talking about what she said. Let's move the fence. How do we remove that fence now? We see it. There's been a spotlight on the fence. How do we remove it?
Yes. Okay. I took that a little bit differently. I took it as, let's have a conversation about systemic barriers that exist and what we must do to kind of rectify that. And I was thinking of it as having conversations, right? So we should have open dialogue about what systemic racism, institutional discrimination, historic discrimination in the past has done to create these different barriers for individuals, and how even in us acknowledging it is taking a step ultimately forward, and how we should spend, you know, our time while having just an open conversation. I mean, the questions that you have on there, why is equity important? Just what is the value? I think it's always important to go back and say, this is what's going on. We've had institutional barriers, racism, discrimination in the past against specific groups. We need to be more open and honest and allow opportunities for people to explain their backgrounds and how they've processed and gone through, and how it would help to move forward in that sense. But yeah, how we pull down that fence, one part of it is through action, like I said, but another is by acknowledgement. And in a lot of places, there isn't even acknowledgement of, you know, systemic institutional barriers. So acknowledging that fact and having open dialogue, conversation, making it so everyone feels comfortable to talk about the barriers that historically were put in place. that make up, honestly, their experience and who they are. So that went on a little bit longer than I wanted, but I just wanted to thank you for bringing up that point. It was absolutely brilliant.
Okay. I think it's great. So I know we want to move on to number 3, but before we go on to number 3, let's get some wording. We talked about removing barriers, or so we want to talk about removing barriers. I think we like that. I want to go to the city's definition, because we can start there. How about we can add the things in that we've discussed, the language that we like, some of the wording or the intent behind it, and maybe we can come up with some words. So let's look at what equity. Did everyone take a picture of it? I can read it to you on my phone here, but Commissioner Harris said she read the equity, and it means to work on policy. She wants to change the word strike to work on and add maybe to remove or to review. I don't know what she wants to remove the policy. So in other words, what should we put there instead of work on policies? What should we put there? Maybe we start there. Does that help you all?
Commissioner Harris had mentioned to identify policies.
To identify. So equity means equity means a commitment to identify identify policies that may directly or indirectly discriminate it's not just about discrimination, though. That's you're gonna help us there. Come on, Commissioner Pastorian. And
well, I think you brought up a really great point earlier as you brought up the socioeconomic piece of it, and that's obviously language that's sort of in here already. But there is a part that I think we should address as well, and that is culture and cultural pieces in there, and that cultural opportunity, and that is something that also I think needs to have some type of wording and visibility. I know that sometimes there's a lot of things that may be implied, but I think some things need to be written out, and it's got to be a word. It's got to be read and put in there. So I would definitely say cultural opportunity needs to be a phrasing as well.
Or cultural inclusion.
Yes.
Something like that, because that's true. That's true for a lot of reasons. I know we're in this space and, I'm comfortable and I'm kind of liking you guys. So I'm going to tell you why that's so true, just for the sake of us really thinking, because sometimes when we do things, okay, I'll put it like this. And this is something for you all to consider why that statement is so important. One time there was a grant, and it was for African-American, for Black people to teach Black people. I'm just gonna make it plain English. I can't have, politically correct language today. Okay, people, give me some grace. Okay. Black people to help Black people. I usually don't go and get involved in that, because we really do serve the community. And I don't want to be pigeonholed and said, I'm just here for Black people, because I'm not. I love people, and that is my heart. And a part of the requirement for this particular funding was that we had to practice and make sure the kids had true cultural experiences. And the things that they deemed necessary for a cultural experience, as a Black person, I never did in my life. I literally had never done them, had never experienced them, and didn't know anything about it. And I was like, well, we shouldn't apply for this because we don't know how to do this. And then my mind said, we need to teach people that all Black experiences don't include the same things. So then when we're saying including culture, are you engaging the diversity within the culture that you're trying to reach? And then that just took us off on a whole conversation of funding, but that's something to think about. They felt that certain rituals needed to be performed for it to be culturally sound. And here I was as a Black person saying, I don't know how to do this. This is not a part of my African American culture. This is a part of my African culture that I don't know anything about. I've never engaged in, and I just felt inadequate to provide that funding, that service. So of course I didn't go after that funding, but that's something to consider when we're saying cultural inclusion. That's why I made the comment last month. You can't have, it's called tokenism. One Black person speaking for all Black people, or one, community member speaking for a certain group. That's what someone, said the other day. We have to have more voices, diverse voices at the table. And culture matters. Because my culture, like I said, my husband is West Indian. And we have two different cultures. And to now live under the same roof with a Black American culture and a West Indian culture. And he's from Latin American, a part of his culture. And it's like, we have to consider that. So thank you for bringing that. I know that went on long, but it's very important to me because that's one of the things I feel inadequate, to be honest, as a Black person. I don't feel that I know all the things because I don't know all the cultural things. So this is a very important topic to make sure we're saying. I see you, Commissioner Pastorian, Commissioner Wartha. I think Commissioner Pastorian wants to comment on her point or continue on her point. So if she does, I'll let her take that back and then I come to you, okay? Commissioner Pastorian.
Thank you, Chair Baker. I absolutely 100%. I agree with you. And from the opposite side of, I guess it's the opposite side, that is something that is very close to my heart as a person who is of Hispanic descent and stuff, but I did not grow up in that household because of a culture and society and stuff. It was not something that was, unfortunately, something that I got to experience. And yet I feel that it resonates with me of who I am. And I think that is something that so many people, from various cultures feel that, and they need to be able to feel that inclusive piece, right? And to know that there's a place and a voice, because it is heartbreaking, frankly, because you're chasing after an identity that you can't ever grasp. It will always be out of your reach. You can't get it back, but being able to have the conversation and the dialogue here and create that level of inclusion is, and certainly as it pertains to the equity value, is really important that we put in there that cultural piece so that all members of our community, no matter the culture or where they are within their culture, feel a sense of belonging and have access and opportunity.
I like that, to feel a sense of belonging, have access and opportunity within their cultural experience in the city of Temecula. That's something we should write. Commissioner Wartha, that was good. That we doing it. We doing it, guys. Look, we doing it together, guys.
No,
Commissioner
yeah.
Wartha.
That's amazing. I was gonna mention the sense of belonging as well, but additionally, as you were reading the definition, I think it goes beyond just working on policies, though. I don't think it's just policies. It's also like programs, activities. So I think we should look for some kind of verbiage that's inclusive of all those different areas that we need to make sure we focus on to make sure that it is equitable. So I think revising that, because I feel like just having that just policies, it's far beyond that.
Director Joel, did you lean forward? Oh, you were going off. Sorry. Okay, go ahead. Yep, I see you lean forward. Go for it.
Yeah, I just wanted to clarify that definition was for the purposes of that resolution only. That was our broad resolution that was denouncing hate and supporting human dignity and all of that. So it was given for consideration purposes only. Your equity value could have some all or none of the terminology that is in that definition. And so general consideration only, do not feel obligated to incorporate and or revise any of that.
Commissioner Harris. And before Commissioner Harris, before you go, Commissioner Pastorian and Director Joel, I really appreciate the insights that you're sharing, because although we are here to make an equity to give recommendations on an equity value and statement, we are modeling before the community understanding of different cultures by having these conversations. Just this alone is going to help a lot of people, because unfortunately, when you say you're doing something again for one group, but then you can hear, oh wait, no, not everyone in the group feels the same way or looks at life the same way, to just even put that in people's thinking or their hearing is doing our job and doing a great service by even having this conversation publicly. So this is good, guys. This is good. So did I miss anyone? Because I want to kind of bring, does anyone have anything else to say before I kind of recap what we've said into some words? And Commissioner Wilson, I see you are the scribe, so you want to share what you have?
Well, yeah, you know what? I agree with what you guys were saying. I had just wrote something down, building an inclusive culture to develop and innovate our community and to have them to engage. And I like the action word that Commissioner Harris was saying, because we don't want them to we just don't want these to be words. We want these words to leap up off the page and to be action, to do something, to have a purpose. So all you guys are hitting on that, but I like what Commissioner Harris was saying. We need to put some action with it, put some force behind it, make it happen. Yeah, that's it.
Thank you. Hey, we Commissioner Steed, I see you, Commissioner Harris. I'm trying to jump, but you all make me so excited. This is really good.
Well, and I think the word culture, it means so many different things than just race or nationalities. It's creating a culture for our city. So I loved, right? Because that word is just, it's so usable. So Commissioner Wilson's contribution, I think, was really, really good. Building an inclusive culture by providing the tools so that everybody feels like they are part of the community.
Tools is necessary. I like that word, tools. That's really good, Commissioner Steve. Yes. So Commissioner, I can't give you all credit. This is all our work and I forget who said what, but this is really good, okay? Because this is too much for my mind to remember, okay? But I like the building an inclusive culture. So we know we like the terms. So let us pull out some words we know we like. How about we do that? We know we like. So someone needs to scribe. I'll say the words that I've heard and then we can write. So inclusive culture for sure. Hands down. Something about economics and opportunity. Commissioner Randy, you have your hand up again?
Yes, nobody needs to scribe. I just want to be clear about that. Unless they are your own thoughts. We are gathering everything from you and we will come back to you with maybe 3 sample.
Yes.
You guys talk. You guys just talk.
Okay, good. This is great.
Yes, we will go back. We will listen. We will re-listen. We will listen with others to make sure that we have captured all of your guys' insight. So I want to take the pressure of describing off.
And the pressure of coming up with a statement and look, you.
I got you. All good. And we won't do just one form statement. We'll come back with like 2 or 3 so that you guys can pick one that jumps out at you and then we can wordsmith that one if needed.
Okay. Thank you very much. I see your hand, Commissioner Faulconer. May I give you the list that we have? May I clarify the list that we have so far or the terms that I hear? And maybe we can get some nodding or thumbs up, since individuals will be reviewing this again, So we definitely like the word inclusive, the statement inclusive culture. We like that. We like social and economic opportunity or in social opportunity. We like the word, and again, it's kind of the same thing. So we're really big on this cultural word. That I see this again on my paper, cultural opportunity. I see that here again. And that would include different needs. Commissioner Steed, can you please say what you just said again? Because I like that, what you just said.
Building an inclusive culture so that the community members will have the tools. Yes.
Tools and resources,
Yes.
Tools and resources, because there are 2 different things. It's one thing for you to give me a pamphlet and say you gave me a resource. It's another thing for you to give me a tool and you come and say, now here's a tool and this is how you use it.
Right. The word identify too, Commissioner Harris's word. Identify.
Yes, love that, Commissioner Harris. Out of all of the things that you've said, do you feel that the strongest word is identify? You want someone, you want them to do an excavation of their policies and their behaviors. Is that a strong enough word for you, identify, or do you need a stronger word?
No, it's not strong enough. I'm being 1000% honest. It's not. It's one thing to identify. I could identify my window, but the thing is that I'm going to close it if it gets too cold. It's to eliminate. We're talking about
Eliminate. So you want the term
direct or
eliminate.
indirectly discriminate. So if we're talking about something that discriminates, we want to
Eliminate.
identify and
Eliminate.
eliminate.
Okay. Okay. That's good. You have more. I'm just jumping because I know they're popping up. I don't want to cut you off. I just want to get what they are all saying. You have more, Ms. Harris, Commissioner Harris?
No. Okay.
This is good. Okay. Commissioner Faulkner was first. He's been waiting. And then I'll take you, Commissioner Wartha. Commissioner Faulkner?
Well, ladies always first, but give me a chance to hop in, please.
I appreciate that.
Hey, but I've been trying to capture what everybody's been saying, and I mean, and not that this hits the mail, but I'm just putting out there what keeps popping up in my head, just like Commissioner Harris has been doing. Just throw it out there and stick it to the wall and see if it sticks to everything we're trying to put together here. So what I just doodling down some stuff. I said the equal treatment, access, socioeconomic opportunity, and advancement for all people, while working to identify and eliminate barriers that have prevented the full participation of the diverse citizens of Temecula. I mean, so not that that's the statement, but I just wanted to capture everything in a statement because we've been throwing around a lot of words. So the equal treatment, access, socioeconomic opportunity, and advancement for all people, while working to identify and eliminate barriers that have prevented the full participation or the full access of Temecula's diverse citizens. So I tried to incorporate everything. So that's all I had. Thanks.
Commissioner, you're welcome, Commissioner Wartha.
Just real quick, I know some words that stuck out with me that the group was talking about was the engagement, the listening, the compassion. I think Commissioner Faulkner said that, the compassion part. But I also like the word strategize, and I don't know how y'all think about that. But I think that's a strong action word.
I like that.
That's like action. So yeah, I really like that because with everything, there's a strategy. But those are my thoughts. Not sure what the group thinks.
And how about identify? I'm trying to collectively put identify and change policies that negative impact social and economic. Identify and change policies that negatively impact the social, economic, political. I don't know why we think political, but because we have such a political climate, that's a people group now, and cultural outcomes of underrepresented. See, if we're really going to use language, we need a little stronger language, because then we have to identify underrepresented community, people within your community. That's the major part for me, underrepresented. So who's underrepresented, right? And so that in and of itself, I think, so we want to eliminate or change policies, and we want to look at underrepresented groups, possibly. Commissioner Steve?
I just would like to see if we can get some direction. I don't want us going down, if we're not supposed to, going down the lane of saying where everything was wrong. I want us to see instead, should we be articulating how we're going to improve the quality of life of people? Because if we start going down the lane where everything was wrong, and these are all the things that have been done, by us being here, we're acknowledging that stuff hasn't always been perfect. But if what we're putting together has negativity in it, I feel like people are going to shut it out. So I feel if we put a more positive spin on it, which doesn't mean we're clouding anything over, but if we put a more positive spin, it's going to engage everybody and be more inclusive. Does that make sense?
So what words would you think we should not include that so it won't sound negative?
I liked your underrepresented.
Okay.
I really
Yeah.
like that,
These are
because
just all words that, you know, we're writing down here. I like underrepresented because then it's not negative. I like that.
yeah, and I think by saying people that were just, you know, it's
Instead of
considered-
saying discrimination, say
people
underrepresented.
that were discriminated against, it's kind of saying that the city has discriminated against people and we don't, the city of Temecula, we can't, oh, you did that, right? It happens.
Right.
We can't pinpoint that. So I think to go positive rather than negative, by having the conversation, we're acknowledging it, but let's not put it in the actual statement. Let's go on the positive spin on it. I hope that makes sense.
No, that's why I use that word underrepresented, because then it's not saying you discriminated against. That's exactly why I use that word, underrepresented. That's exactly why I use that word, because then it's no one's at fault. Today, the underrepresented community could be, if you are, I'm gonna give you something funny here, because you know this gets a little intense sometimes talking about these issues, but no one knows that I have a very long big toe. And I'm just telling y'all the truth. It's my birthday. The older I get, the more unfiltered and I don't care. And so what if like a whole bunch of residents out of 100 and last I looked, 14,000, 17,000 residents, what if we got a small underrepresented group of people with an extensive long big toe? You understand what I'm saying? At some point, someone has to identify that group is here and maybe they're underrepresented. That's what that's saying. See how that's lighthearted. It's not sinister. It's not pointing the finger, you know, it's just being aware of your community. Commissioner Pastorian.
I love what you, Chair Baker, I appreciate your sharing and forthcoming. Commissioner Steed, I completely agree with you. Language is so important. And one of the words I identified in there for the same reasons, because of you don't want to go down the rabbit hole, is the word change. And perhaps the word adjust or even promote would be an action word. Again, we would be promoting something and that has that positive spin on it. Absolutely, that we're looking for. And then filling in the end with either what we want to see, right? The result, whether it be inclusion or creating the equitable community. But in that same vein, we talked about how culture means different things. And I would try to delineate how we use that word, because obviously we want the word to reflect what it means, right? Mm-hmm. So certainly inclusive culture, perhaps saying inclusive community, that is starting to create that. I mean, that's kind of embodies those same sentiments a little bit. And then we keep culture along with the whole socioeconomic piece of it. So we include that culture. So then it does apply the actual cultural pieces that we're looking at. So I don't know how the group feels about that. Commissioner Steed, I'm not looking to change any words, but I think we're just trying to, you know, not be repetitive, especially with a word that means so many different things. But
and I like tying the cultural part to specific, the social and economical.
Yeah, I don't want to stop the fact that we are trying to create an inclusive community and build our community around that, you know, around that warmth and that kind of a thing. What we're trying to say in terms of our meaning of culture in that sense. So, but I do, like I said, the word promote has that positive spin on it. It's an action word. I know Commissioner Harris is about and all about that, and I completely agree. It should be an action as we move forward. That fence doesn't get torn down by itself. That fence, there's an action that has to take place. So absolutely. And yes. I saw Commissioner Faulkner.
Yes, go ahead, Commissioner Faulkner, jump in. This is fantabulous.
This is great, but you got me off my thought with thinking about this long toe. But and happy birthday.
Thank you.
But you know, and I agree. I agree with what you guys said in regards to just, let's, again, in our statement, let's make sure it's inclusive and not pushing people away as well, because you know, so a couple of things, you know, and a couple of words I made in that statement. I do want to see that there is some way that we still work to identify, because barriers, a lot of this is about barriers, right, being placed in the way. So I think still something in this verbiage that talks about identifying and eliminating barriers to access. So even if we use those words, because many times, as we saw the barrier fence, right? The fence was a barrier, right? So, and we talked about that. If we can work that into it somehow as we continue to work to identify and eliminate any barriers to access for any group in our city. So, yeah, thank you.
And yes, Commissioner Harris, I'm gonna say one thing and then you can go, because I just have to say, thank you for our cups. We so appreciate it. And this is my birthday weekend, so I feel like you had this cup sent to me in my mind, just in my mind. I know all of you on here have it, but you got to be special in your own mind, even if don't nobody else think you're special. That's where the true diversity, equity, inclusion starts, with thyself first. Love thyself. See yourself as special. I'm on the road today, people. I just want y'all to know I've had a lot of caffeine and I'm drinking green tea now. So go ahead, Commissioner Harris, and thank you all for the beautiful cup. It's beautiful.
And I love my cup. I have it at work. I'm flexible with my cup all the time. It has my name on it. I love it. Commissioner Faulkner, I really want to say that I love your idea. I think it's really important, I think, to speak truth to power about what equity really means, which is acknowledging those barriers, right? And it might seem, I think, negative, especially when you discriminate, can come off kind of harshly, although I think it was really brave of the city to use the word, because I think it's important. And I would love to see maybe one of our options that maybe speaks on that, like I said before, acknowledging institutional barriers that existed, and directly, indirectly discriminated, harmed individuals within the community, and what we're doing to rectify and then to create a city that is more, equitable for everyone. But I really loved Commissioner Faulkner's idea of perhaps using words like barriers. I think that's a really good idea.
Well,
And
I think, oh, go ahead, sorry.
I'm done.
I think to bring together Commissioner Steed's concern about it sounding negative and your thought about, but it's important and very brave to use the word discrimination. But I would like to submit for your thinking, isn't discrimination a barrier? Discrimination in it, so that will be included in that. Because see, when we identify and eliminate barriers, we will uncover discrimination. We will uncover inequality in a lot of ways. And it also help when we say identify, that also will leave a level of personal accountability, because in order to identify as a body, because there's not one person in our government that makes any decision. So that means the entire governing body will be involved in identifying barriers, whether it's discriminatory barriers or cultural barriers or economic barriers, or so we're hitting on barriers. Is that a strong word? How do you guys feel about that word to encompass? So we're not pointing the finger, because let's just face it, if we're just having a very candid conversation here, we need this statement to be swallowed by all. We just need to be very real. And when people feel like you are attacking them, or they feel like you're pointing the finger at them, no one, I don't care what race they are they're less receptive. You can tell me I'm being crazy, or you can tell me, have you had too much caffeine today? And when you tell me if I had too much caffeine today, that'll make me self-regulate. Like, you must be off the chain today, because there's versus, are you crazy? It's going to make me defensive and be like, what do you mean? And so what we want to do, even in this statement, is to be welcoming. We want to be inclusive. Come to hear what we have to say and consider this. and how do we move forward? So we have to have a level of grace on this statement that it goes beyond this moment, because we don't know who's going to hear this statement and who's going to have to adhere to this after us. So we're really setting the tone. And now this is going into our value. We're at a very pivotal point. So how do we not water down the issues, but how do we address them in a way that is inclusive? Commissioner Wartha.
Yes, and maybe to your point, Chair Baker, maybe we add something that has the word welcoming or something of that nature, but also being interconnected. So we're not necessarily using negative terms, but we're using more inclusive and togetherness type of terms.
Well, we talked about that word belonging, putting that word belonging in community. We're in the groups where we're creating communities of belonging. I'm in a series now of creating communities of belonging, actually. And that's pretty much what we need to do, create communities of belonging in this statement. So that word belonging, I definitely think will hit that as well. Barriers is a strong word, because it is all encompassing, unless we want to pull out a thesaurus and see what's a stronger word to barrier. But I think this also, we never want to write a statement that's higher than an 8th grade level. Really shouldn't write more than a 6th grade level, actually. But I think everyone can understand barriers. And even if they didn't, the context words could help them understand what it meant, So I think we like that word barriers. And eliminate. We have the word eliminate. We like that word. Like, we want to eliminate barriers. And that's a positive thing to me. That whenever someone is looking at something, we're not looking to point the finger. We're looking to eliminate anything negative, i.e. a barrier. Commissioner Faulkner.
And I agree, but to get to the point of elimination, we have to get to the point of identification.
We said the word identify.
Okay, I just wanted
well, for sure, absolutely. That's that action word Commissioner Harris wants. Commissioner Harris wants to see that every year, because that's measurable. Did you identify this year? How many barriers did you identify? What did you do? What is the progress? That's measurable. We can look back and see, did we review annually, whatever. I don't know how we want to do it, but it's measurable. Yes. Commissioner Pastorian, I can see you look like you're ready.
So, you're getting good at this, Chair Baker. We're going to throw you off when we go back in person and see how you read us then.
I know, right?
But so one of the things is we're identifying equity as a value, and I apologize because I don't know everybody's background, but I can tell you certainly from my background being in scouting, I follow a very strong core value system. It's part of our organization. It's what we adopt as a person. And so when you do that, you become very proud of those values, right? And you want to share them, and you live by them. They're your compass. And I think that is something that, if we look at it from that side, our words need to very much be the value that our citizens take to heart, and they're going to guide themselves by, right? All those things that Randy read off and everything. And as we add equity to that, equity might quite frankly be the strongest and foundationary piece to those in all of those. And I think we need to be conscientious of that as we start to write that foundation and build that foundation to some of those other values. But also the word should be, we need to identify, because I believe Commissioner Faulkner has a point, as does Commissioner Harris. I think we've all kind of hit that one home. Awareness, right? We have to bring a spotlight a little bit to that, but also leave it in a way that is inspiring for our citizens. So it does resonate with them. They want to be equitable in their actions. They want to do these things and become inclusive. And so really making sure that somewhere in there, that positive piece that Commissioner Steed was talking about really becomes words of inspiration. So they have something to take away, and that they feel good about embracing equity as a value, their personal value as a citizen in our community. So that's something, that we should keep in mind, certainly, as well as we continue to push out these words and vet the words and create some real good, something to take back to our city. So.
Well, I think that if nothing else, if we can get a thumbs up, everyone likes the word identify because it's action. Does everyone agree? We want identify in there. We want them looking. We want, as a city, we want ourselves shining a spotlight on our practices, our inclusion. You know, we want to go about that on it's just a normal process of evaluating our growth and our equity. So we like that word because you got to start with identifying. If you don't identify what you're doing, go ahead, Commissioner Steve.
I think for when this topic came up tonight, and I think we all wrote down different things that kind of resonated with us. And I think there's always a nugget in each one of those. So I did write down one kind of statement, and so let the city pull from it what they might. But for our community to work together to provide the tools and opportunities for the entire community to feel equally involved, engaged, and represented. I think that's our ultimate goal. And so put 300 words around that and the words that we use, I think we'll accomplish what we want to accomplish.
Except Commissioner Harris, and I agree, because I see her face. She wants us to, she want to make sure we
Don't
identify.
read my face. I'm tired, y'all.
No, I'm saying
tired.
us to remove them,
I'm
the
sorry.
barriers. And I agree because we see the fence, you know what I mean? We see that fence, but now how do we move those barriers? And I like the word because just identifying them and then remove them. Identify and remove or eliminate. Maybe that's a word. Eliminate barriers. I was saying that's the point. That's your point. We want to move. We don't want to just say we see it. We want to do something about it. That's what I'm saying, Commissioner Harris. That's your stance. We want to make sure we're seeing them do it. Commissioner Faulkner.
This discussion is a great one. Yeah, this is a great dialogue. And I do want to bring up Commissioner Pistorian. What a great example of equity and inclusion with what the Boy Scouts and Girl Scouts went through, right? So a great example of that is our Girl Scouts being able to be in the Boy Scouts and showing that we were able to do this work the same as them. But the fact of the matter is, you said that we had to be over here because of the girls and had the other boys, but nothing they were doing was specific to boys. The girls could have done the same thing. So what a great lesson to learn from in regards to equity as well. I mean, I'm not saying it's the only one, but I know Commissioner Pistorian has that background in regards to what they had to go through to be able to walk through and come on that side and be inclusive in that organization and remove what we talk about. They identified and they eliminated the barriers so they could be Boy Scouts. So this is exactly what we're talking about as we built this statement out as well. So I just want to bring it up.
Okay. So what are we thinking so far? Do we think we have enough here? Do we think we want to add some words? Because how is it measured? Because that will be our last, how will we measure it? What do we do?
I think it's measured the quality of life of our citizens and in people living the good life that we all expect to live as citizens of this community, and us providing the tools that people can prosper, and us providing the tools for everybody to include everybody, our seniors, our special needs community, our LGBTQ community, our minorities, that everybody feels that. And I think when they have the voice and when they can openly say, wow, our city is paying attention to us, we feel that our culture is included, we feel that our needs are being met. And I think we always hear the naysayers, but I think if the city is actively doing these things, you see the results in the reactions of your citizens and how they participate and how they show up.
Mm-hmm. That's true. Commissioner Walker?
Thank you. As far as measurables, what I was thinking is measuring community engagement, and when there's programming, the participation, how many people attended, how many policies were revised, the proclamations that we're doing. So that's kind of like what I'm thinking as far as some of the measurables as we move forward.
Can you hold that thought right there? Don't say
Yeah.
anything. So can we put down with that thought, the measurables? I like that, because that was some of the questions that I have currently, even about programming. How many people? So back to, what are we measuring? The people. So the value is for the people, that we value you. So are we going to begin to collect demographic information on the participants of everything? How many people participated in this and this program and that, and what was their maybe socioeconomic background, what was their race, what was their et cetera, what was their gender, were they disabled, what did they identify as, whatever markers, because that can become just a report card as the assumption. I don't know. No one has told me anything like this, and I'm not speaking for the city. I'm just assuming that at some point if this commission is going to continue, I don't see us ending. So then we'll have to do something on an annual basis, right? So maybe the reporting that we've done, I personally have grown to love those reports. Randy, don't give me another report now. Once I understood and started learning, I had a lot of questions, but now we can direct some of the answers to come back to the community on a regular basis through such a commission as this, that this commission begin to now have the report on an annual basis. We served 2 African-American kids, or 2,700 African-American kids, Latino kids, LGBT kids, always the kids for me first, right? But are we really saying those are the ones, like one of the questions was, what were we doing to particularly engage African-Americans in going to college? And so now we begin to measure those things, because do we have the right programs in place to engage the kids to go to school, to get the resources, the tools, so then we can begin to see this value at work when we come back to get reporting on an annual basis, or however it comes. Maybe that's how we measure it, that we bring it through this commission, like we've been doing our reports from the different departments. So I don't know if that helps in terms of what you were saying. We do those measurables. Go ahead, Commissioner Wartha.
Yeah, those were just some of my ideas of some key performance indicators or measurables. I know as we start opening up, perhaps we'll start having events in conjunction with community services. I know we had talked about doing a day of service or multicultural events, and we can see how much participation we have, and if that participation grows as we move forward. So those are just kind of the things I'm thinking.
And then it kind of goes back to, we've already talked about this and given those recommendations, but then I think these type of reports help to shape the marketing, something as simple as the marketing, because now we're actually measuring and getting feedback on how many people are engaging us. Well, see, I have constant contact, and every time I send out an email, it tells me how many people open my email. It's just things like that. So then I can tell my marketing team, we're not really hitting the mark here, because people are not opening our emails. And that is literally what happened to us, because we had that built-in measurement. And so then we changed our marketing, and people began to open our emails more. So it's just something as simple as that. Are we reaching the people we need to reach? A, and are we keeping track of that? B. Who's next? Oh, Commissioner Pastorian.
As Commissioner Huerta was speaking right now, it did trigger something. I like the way that she talked about programs and making that measurable, and certainly collecting that data and looking at how perhaps some of those diverse groups are being represented and reflected in our programs. But it also struck me at that point that somewhere in here, we probably need to ensure that we mentioned that one of our goals is creating a safe space, because that is we're talking about issues that are so, heavy in some respects, or controversial in other areas, or, they're hard issues, right? And so people need to know that it's okay, and we need to create a space for them where they feel comfortable and safe in order to come out and be participatory in those programs, and not with, other feelings of hurt, which is fine. Hurt can come out, but it's how you express it, right, that makes the difference. So creating that area of where we can have the dialogue and the conversation is so important versus having just, anger and such like that, where it can lead to other different things that maybe we don't want to see. That's something that we don't want to measure, right? Is, things that could be detrimental to our community. So I think that we have to look at creating that space so that we can, like Commissioner Huerta said, have those programs then and reflect the engagement of our community within those programs as well.
Commissioner Wilson? Yes?
Yeah, sorry, my hand is up, but it's right by the little guy's head, so you really can't see it.
No, right. Yes.
I
Yes.
know, and I've been putting my hand up and down, and I figured,
I'm
oh,
so
that's another-
sorry. I'm
Oh,
sorry.
that's okay. That's okay. No problem. So basically, what I was going to say is what everybody has already said. I just think that it's important to have the engagement of our community, and the leadership is going to be a key impact to see what our leadership looks like in our community to basically measure up. And also, I just said programs, the success of the programs is also going to be the way that we can measure. And the programs can be having a meet and greet, having, a coffee with the commissioner, coffee with the mayor. Those things like that can help. Also, our young people, getting our young people to engage, because these are who our future leaders are. These are the ones that are going to take the torch and run with it. We really need to have the young people to be engaged and to get involved. We can measure that by seeing how well we get, how many young adults we get involved and get them engaging and everything. I love the feedback. I love the surveys, because that tells you exactly where we're lacking and where we can improve on as a community, as a leadership, the cohesiveness. So I love all of these things. We just have to identify what those areas are that needs to be measured and put things in place in order to measure those.
And I think some of the things that you're saying here is really good, because that's what I was thinking. We can have a measurement of each one of these, like in our reporting coming back. So the city is gathering this information on an annual basis about its programming, and they're used to doing that. They like we just saw, we the bum when it comes to dealing with money. Okay, we're not poor. We are a well-kept financial city, but they also go after a lot of funding, and each funding source requires measurements, so they know this is what they do all day long. So this is just now aiming some of that towards equity, diversity, and inclusion. And so I think that really measurement part is, I think they have that down. Creating opportunities to measure is what's important. Creating the opportunities to actually measure. Commissioner Faulkner?
No, I agree with you what you're saying. I mean, and us, trying to work out the qualitative versus quantitative measurement and how we do this, and we know the qualitative part of this is words and meaning, right? So that's getting out and talking to the people and seeing how this is making an impact. I mean, and getting feedback from directly. Some of the things that we talked about as we come out of COVID, getting back out, socializing with our citizens, having conversations, meeting with them, with our city council members, to have a discussion around this and what does this mean to them. High schools as well. I mean, our youth, being able to sit down and talk to them and get their feedback on what this means, and our seniors too. So we do a lot for our seniors and get that feedback as well across all demographics in regards to what we're looking at. And the quantifiable statistics. I mean, what does that look like in regards to centered around equity? Okay, what do we look at in regards to if that is making an impact, or is something being built that goes against that, and how do we measure that from a policy standpoint? Is that people reporting that they were denied resources based on this, or what does that look like, and from a quantifiable standpoint, and how we collect that data is one of the things that we really want to dig out, because centered around equity, I don't think it's the easiest thing, but I think we can talk to it and try to figure that out. But I just want to bring that up.
Director Joel, I know you're in a lot of spaces where you're hearing how we're measuring it. So can you give us a little insight on what you're seeing out there in terms of how to quantify and qualify equity?
Yeah, so a lot of what I'm hearing is, and just so this is a challenge across the board because government is not used to working in the equity space. So to some degree, we are building the road as we are driving on it. And so what we are learning is from our peers that have been doing this for a couple of years now, is some of the stuff is being measured already, but it is not in a consumable, shareable format, or it is not being put together in a way to be responsive to a measurement for a particular goal like equity. So I'll give you an example. When we did Measure S, and that was a 2-year program, we, as a part of that, measured how many roundtables we did with the chamber and external stakeholders. We measured how many social media hits there were on the page. We measured how many emails we did. We measured how many postcards we did. We measured those postcards went out to 41,000 residential households. And so if we did 3 of those, we reached 81,000 households in a 6-month period. So we are doing some of this stuff. You guys have heard from the departmental presentations that, the complaint system through RSO and how complaints can be lodged and all of this kind of stuff. What it hasn't, so communities, governmental communities do already, as Chair Baker said, have data sets. They have not been focused on an equity response measure. So I think part of our challenge here moving forward is going to be identifying what data we are already collecting, how to turn that data into data sets, and then how to make those data sets directly apply to a value like equity.
Right. And that's going to be very complicated, I want you to know, but it's possible. And I, first of all, feel very confident with Randy being at the helm, because she's, I think that measurable part, we need to decide. I guess what I'm trying to say is you as a commission need to think about, what do you want to hear back to know we have accomplished, or they are accomplishing what this equity statement is. So you need to think of some things that you want to hear back in terms of what you want to see measured. Commissioner Harris.
Hi, thank you, Randy. I think you touched upon something that was really important, that we're in a space that's very, very new, and we're in a really, we really have the amazing opportunity to build upon something to create a more equitable space for everyone in our community. Just to affirm everyone and just restate some of the things that I heard about how equity is measurable. I spent a lot of time thinking about it, and all of the things that were brought up, just getting feedback from the community, people vocalizing that they feel good within their city. That's extremely important. Creating programs and measuring engagement. I mean, look at, this commission, over 80 applicants. That's an indication that you created something that provided the opportunity that for people to speak out, and they want to engage.
It was something that was
their local government. Surveys is an awesome way, random surveys, just to ask the community, how are you feeling? Do you feel comfortable? Do you feel at home? Are programs servicing you correctly?
Well, what would you like to see? That's also something, maybe putting around surveys there. What you think about that, Commissioner Harris? Adding
Um,
the question of engaging the community about what they want to see or what they need. How about that? What you think?
I like that. I do think that that is one way of going about it that would be important. I think creating I think accountability mechanisms
Mm,
is an important way to kind of gather information. So I'm thinking a lot about our conversation last month with the Riverside Sheriff's Department, and we all discussed, that they had a program, that worked with people of different abilities, disabilities. They had programs engaging with the LGBTQ community, and that it would be extremely important and I think noteworthy to have a program that was about communicating and working with communities of color, right?
yeah, we talked
Um,
about that. Yes.
yes, that's one way to engage with the community. And also I think a lot about the fact that they brought up racial statistics, or I'm forgetting the officer's name and I apologize. But he brought up racial statistics, the breakdown of Riverside County, and I'm thinking about just in the case of policing, and we could do this in just around the city, just in general, when it comes to, and I spoke about like the census, but just when it comes to policing, breaking down like these are, these groups of individuals have been pulled over more or have not, just being able to acknowledge certain different demographics, sorry, and being able to have accountability measures and ensure that people aren't, being disproportionately affected by something or a certain, I guess, policy or um, I think I just want to use policy, but accountability mechanisms. I think that is a good one. Creating more opportunities for engagement with the community. I agree with as well. I think that those would create more ample ways to measure equity.
So would it be safe to say that we're asking Director Joel to come back with some suggested accountability mechanisms?
Yes, I think that'd be great.
Commissioner Joe, I mean, Executive Director Joe.
So,
Well, I'm not saying come back with anything in particular, but we're just having an open conversation.
They're going to
right?
bring all of this back to us. And since none of us really know how to put in some accountability mechanisms, then that's why we have the beautiful staff that we have to kind of like bring us back some suggestions in our next meeting. That's what she said she's going to do.
yes, so the measurable piece of this will be broader and not specific measurements, because this is a part of the broader equity value statement. So it's not going to be like a page of measurables or whatever else. What it's going to be is a broader definition that gets at the point of we need measurables to make sure that we are adequately meeting this value, this equity value. And what I'm hearing from you all is measurements around data, measurements around accountability standards, measurements around engagement, measurements. So these broader concepts. So that is what I'll be trying to capture as I re-listen to all of this and bring back to you. It won't be like, specific standards for a particular project or program or whatever, but it'll be that broader piece that you can fit all of the details on programs and policies underneath. And that is really also the responsibility of the departments as we move forward, because our value, so as you know, I am, as a department, I am responsible to make sure that my departmental goals meet that transparency value, right? So in my measurements for that transparency value, independently in my department, are things like How many constant contact hits did we have on the agenda for the REDI Commission or the City Council? How many public comments did we have? How many Public Records Act requests did we have? What percentage of the time did we have to ask for an extension for those Public Records Act requests, right? So those are all kind of the details, but that won't be in what I bring back to you. What I'll bring back to you is is high level.
Okay, yes, that's good. Anyone else? Thoughts, comments, feelings, all hearts clear? Do you think Commissioner Pastorian, I see your hand move just a little bit.
I to Randy's point, I think, having something that's measurable. I mean, data is the obvious, right? We want the data, but I think conversation with some of these departments that we have already heard from and how they might be seeing that equity value manifesting in their specific area is going to be really valuable feedback to us and measurable information that we're going to be able to look at and say, okay, is this working? Is this not working? How are citizens responding to this? So and I don't know that we can create some of that measurable piece until we settle on what that value is, right? So I think that's important, and I think for the most part it seems that we are all very much on the same page in terms of wanting to see that data, but I also think feedback from some of these other departments is going to be just as viable to us as well.
Yep. Okay, so how are we doing? How are we doing on feeling like we've reached the point where we've gotten enough information to have Randy to come back to us with some suggestions? But I feel like it would be remiss of us not to ask Erica, because that's inclusive. She's sitting at the table. She has her beautiful face here. Erica, is there anything that you have heard that you want to validate or add to the conversation that we should focus on?
To be honest, you guys hit every mark. I mean, this group is just great. No, I agree with everything, Ivy. You hit, identify, all the areas, and then to eliminate or to do something about it. Just the cultural part of it as well. No, you guys did an amazing job. I really, really appreciate all your guys' input. It's great.
Now we've done an amazing job. We modeled what we're saying. First of all, you have to identify by stopping and looking. And when I kept looking on this screen, I'm like, why is she sitting here and her voice not heard? That is us modeling what we want the city to do. We want the city to stop and take a look, identify who's missing, whose voice is not being heard. And then we want them to engage to eliminate the barrier. And to see, the barrier for her is that she just was not asked. That is a barrier, not asking. And by asking, at least for me, it made me feel like, okay, she's observing now to get her feedback. Did we miss anything? And she said we're on the right track. So that makes me feel like everyone. Now, the city of Temecula, we know you just helping us here, but we appreciate you making sure we have a good Zoom and everything so we can do this. So we include a thank you to you as well. Okay, commissioners, all your hearts clear? Let me see where we at. I think we done now. This is besides our comments, of course, but I think we're done with that part. Okay, we good? Are we good? Commissioner Steve, I see you reading, checking your notes. You good? No, it's okay. I just want to make sure everyone, I see you looking at your notes, Commissioner Worth. Everyone has everything that they want to say. Commissioner Harris, good? Okay, you sure? Okay, we're good. Well, this was a fantastic discussion. We've given Randy and her team a lot to consider and come back with, and we look forward to coming back. And I just, again, want to thank the city for the opportunity for our voice to be heard. By asking the question, you're taking the barrier down. By asking the question, just asking, you're removing a barrier. And so I'm just really excited about that. So that will, okay, conclude. Let's see the agenda report. That I did that already. Okay, commission reports. Any good news you all want to share with us? What you been doing out here for diversity, equity, and inclusive? Have you been letting people see your beautiful face? And what you been doing? Let's hear it. And if you don't have anything that you was just loving the world, you did something because you were kind to someone different than yourself.
I'll go first, Commissioner Baker, because I'm going to be fast. This has been a crazy month for me, so I have not done a whole bunch, but I will tell you, I am incredibly proud of our community, certainly for embracing not just our commission, but honestly the initiative. As some of you may know, I am not only a parent but a employee at Great Oak High School, and I am so proud of them having an equity team and embracing this whole initiative. And I am sure, and I know Commissioner Faulkner may speak on this more, but I know the entire district has done the same. And so this is just a really amazing time, and for us to be moving all together in the same fashion. And it just warms my heart that we're doing this. And like I said, to get our young people engaged right now at such a critical age in their life is just, it'll be lasting. It's lifelong. So the work we're doing is so important. I'm just very blessed to be a part of this. So thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Worther.
Thank you. I guess I want to echo what Commissioner Pastorian said. Thank you to the community and city council and staff for the continued support of this initiative. Happy to hear that this is our 6-month mark. And as Randy mentioned, next year will be 1 year since the REDI initiative was implemented. So that is super exciting. I also want to note that the Friendship Park Volunteer Days, where we painted the mural and did the mosaic tiles, that was so amazing. So thank you to the city and staff who put that together, and the artists and everybody who was out there, all the volunteers. I know a bunch of us were out there as well. And just a quick question for you, Director Joel. Do you know when that's going to be unveiled? I don't remember if there was I know it's coming up.
Oh, I have it. I have the date.
Okay.
The Friendship Park.
Yeah.
You know what? I will go back and check and go ahead and send an email to the commission because I want to get it right.
Okay.
Yeah, because I think it's the 29th at 10 a.m.
It is.
Okay,
It is.
it is. Okay, I thought the 20th, but I didn't see it on my calendar, but okay, so that's super exciting. I can't wait to see the final product. It was so fun and great talking to the volunteers and the students out there and the artists. It was just a wonderful time. I had the honor to go out and look at the latest student mural unveiling at Sam Hicks Park. And that was in honor of Juneteenth. I know Commissioner Wilson and Steed were there too, and Commissioner Wilson gave a background of Juneteenth, which was amazing. And that was facilitated by Great Oak High School Black Student Union Director Felicia Joseph, who is amazing. We got a chance to speak to her a bit, and also some of the other students that were there. And it's just so amazing and so wonderful to see how much they care and the difference they're trying to make in the community. True leaders, natural leaders. I can't wait to talk to them more. And it was just a great time. I'm happy I was able to get out there. Also, I was able to volunteer a couple of times at the senior center. So I wanted to thank the staff out there, Cassandra, Olga, Yvette, Jordan was out there as well. Amazing team. Great to talk to some of the community members as well. And then I also wanted to note that I did attend the WLG Women Leaders in Government, I believe. Yes, they had a Women's Leadership Summit earlier in May, and there was an awesome presentation and webinar on understanding and addressing diversity and inclusion in the workplace, and that was presented by the Rancho Cucamonga Fire District. But it was just great because they identified the need to be a reflection in their community, which they're getting there, but they talked about some of their strategies and some of what they're doing right now to make their workforce more diverse. But long story short, I do have a link of that video, and they said I could share it with the commissioner, so I will send it to you all. It was a great presentation. And as Randy mentioned, there is the ICMA inaugural summit. It's today and tomorrow. I did register. I wasn't able to attend today, but we do have access to the recordings up till July 11th. So I'll come back with a report next month. But also just want to say happy birthday to Tiffany. I hope you have a great birthday weekend. Excited to see that Temecula is having 2 fireworks shows. It looks like Pachanga and City. So that is super exciting. Also excited to see the Mike Nagar Park will be dedicated next week as well. So a lot of great things happening in the movies in the park. Just thank you again to the city. Thank you all for being a great group. And Chair Baker, I hope you have a wonderful birthday. And thank you again to the city for the wonderful commission packages.
Yeah, so nice. Commissioner Faulkner?
Happy birthday to you. Nah, we go.
You should see my team sing it. For COVID, we would go to restaurants and we would take over the restaurants and sing happy birthday to Randy.
I know.
That version.
Hey, so I just want to first of all start with that bag was amazing. I drive up to my parking lot trying to figure out what did I order. I'm trying to sneak into the house before my wife get here. And I'm like, okay. I pick up the bag and like it was nice. I appreciate that the city for thinking about us and giving us that. That was an awesome gift. Made my day, so I appreciate it. Temecula, we are ready for you. I just wanted to make sure. I always like using "ready" because I mean it's a catchy phrase. But I do want to just speak to. I just want to look into the screen and speak to our citizens. And I know we talked about the youth, and you know, one of the things I talked about the youth when I went to the event at the park when they were meeting, and to let them know they have a huge voice, they have a huge impact in what we do. And for you, for the youth of this city, we want to hear from you. And I know the city wants to hear from you. One of the things that they talk about as I go into high school and I start looking around, there's nothing here for me. You know, I'm not a winery person. I'm not an Old Town person. I'm not a casino person. So one of the things I said, your voice is powerful. Get together with your groups and bring it to leadership. Nothing's off the table, but they'll listen to everything. So you have a powerful voice, use it. So I want to make sure we hit that. And one of the things is the REDI Commission is a commission that's here for every citizen of Temecula. So I know people want to isolate it, thinking it's this and that. No, it's a commission that's here for everyone. And we've had this conversation about equity, right? That equity includes you. All right. So I know there's false narrative and things going out there. No, we are here to represent you, and we want to hear from you and hear how we can walk out. So I just wanted to share that. And the last thing that keeps floating out there, and I just have to address it, is we as a REDI Commission do not teach CRT, nor do we force CRT on the leadership of this city. So I want to make sure I keep hearing it, but I just want to address
What is that? The critical race theory stuff?
Critical race theory.
Oh Lord, that's not what we do.
I know. I just want to address it because it keeps coming up, and I just want to make sure the citizens know that's not REDI Commission. All right. And last but not least, farmers market. I attended. It was great. That's my first time attending the farmers market in Old Town, and what a great group of people, great setup, and a very diverse group of people. I had some great conversations while I was there. Some good people, and some good. We got there a little late, so you know we didn't get the good stuff, but we got something. We found something. There was something there for everybody. Great conversation, very diverse group of people, and everybody having a good time getting along with each other. So that's what I'm talking about. And last but not least, I'll just say I had an opportunity to sit down with one of our law enforcement officers that patrols the city. I just had a conversation with him. We were at Starbucks and just sat down and had I had 15 minutes. So we just sat down and had a conversation about how things are going in the city. And he really loves his job in Temecula. He came from a very stressful area where, was affecting his health, but he really loves this city. And he is really dedicated to his job. So I just want to pay homage to him and what he does, and he's looking forward to have continued conversation about how he can work to improve race equity, diversity, and inclusion. and what he does every day, and communicating some things back to us as well. So we'll continue that conversation. And I'm scheduled for a ride along. I'm looking forward to it. I think it's tomorrow.
Need to get my ride
Oh,
along.
I'm getting a ride along tomorrow, so I'll let you know how that goes and bring that information back to you to let you know what went on with it. So that's all I had. Thank you very much.
Okay, well, who's next? Commissioner Wilson.
Yeah, I'll go next, but I'm trying to figure out how did Commissioner Faulkner get his ride along schedule already. We'll talk later about that. But I just want to say thank you so much, Randy and the city council, for our gifts. Yes, I went downstairs and found the bag. I'm like, it's not my birthday and I'm going through all the stuff. It's so good. So thank you for that. I just wanted to share, even though it's National Pride Month, it's also National Home Ownership Month. And we are holding a seminar. I've been involved with the Housing Diversity Committee, and this is something for everyone. So I'm going to send Randy the link so everyone can get involved with this. We have some really good panelists. Los Angeles chapter president of the LGBTQ plus Real Estate Alliance is going to be speaking. The president of the National Association of Real Estate Broker, president of National Association of Hispanic Real Estate, Asian Real Estate. We have a diversity panel there. And that's what inclusion should look like. When you're having something, include everybody. Get a little bit of culture and history from everybody and hear what they got to say. So that's what we're doing over at the Association of Realtors. We're having this event. Also, we had a great time painting the friendship mural. Oh my God, I can't wait to see the finished product because we had great conversation. Commissioner Huerta and Commissioner Harris, we were out there, and Commissioner Baker. You know, we didn't get paint all over us. I was surprised because we were talking and painting at the same time. I thought we were going to paint each other, but we had a great time out there. And then to see the young adults paint the mural that they have over at Sam Hicks Memorial, it is fabulous. If you guys have not gone by, take a look at it. You need to meet these individuals personally so they can share their story. This is truly an inspiration of Juneteenth. I know our ancestors are rolling over in their graves saying, this is what we fought for. We want them to take the torch and to continue to go with it and move forward. So I love that. That was just very emotional time. But I think that's it. Of course, busy in the community, but I can't wait till we can get out and connect and engage and really show the community what the REDI Commission is all about. And we're here for them 150%. And they're going to eventually find that out when we're able to get out and engage and show them what we're here for. So that completes my report. Thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Commissioner Harris. Sure.
Hi, I just want to thank the city for my wonderful bag. I got a call from my father who said, the city dropped off some books for you. There's like some books they're in the front of the house on my way home from work. So I came home expecting to get a whole bunch of manuals. And when I opened it up and there was mugs and all this cute stuff, I was so happy. I like videotaped myself opening it. I was super proud. I loved it.
You videotape yourself. All right.
I loved it. Thank you so much. I also just wanted to talk about the wonderful time that I had at Friendship Park, painting the mural. It was so nice seeing the other commissioners. We're just coming out of COVID and able to go to events now. And it's just been such an amazing experience to finally meet some of y'all in person, you know, outside of these small boxes. These small boxes, it's been just absolutely wonderful. The youth that was there, I know some members of YAC and other volunteers were painting, and it was absolutely amazing to speak with them and to speak with other people who are super passionate about showcasing diversity and embracing diversity and finding times to celebrate diversity, you know, at Friendship Park and all come together. I think that's what it's for. So that was a wonderful opportunity. I also want to talk about the small tiles for the mural. That was wonderful too. My nephew couldn't be there to paint a tile, so I brought one home for him, and it made him feel really included and special to have something that he was going to paint be a part of the city forever. So, you know, thank the city of Temecula Community Services for providing vast and many opportunities for members of the, you know, of the public to feel like a part of Temecula, feel a part of the community. I absolutely loved that. I look forward next week to attending Mike Nagar's retirement and also park dedication. I think he is an absolutely wonderful human being and public servant. And I remember when I had to speak before the city council for the commission, the question that he asked it stood out to me. He asked me, and I apologize if I don't phrase it completely correctly, but he was asking me or telling me that this work requires a lot of love. Do you have a lot of love in your heart for this city and for this work? And I thought it was quite moving to get a question like that. When speaking about community services, love is attached to it. And I thought it was pointed. And of course, I have an absolute love for everything and everyone in my community. And love is being there, but also taking the time to see where we can go to be better, to embrace absolutely everyone and ensure that everyone is taken care of and feels that they are part of this community. So I am so grateful to be a part of this commission, so grateful to work alongside all of the other commissioners who I know for a fact have love in their heart for the community of Temecula and everyone. So that's my ode to him. And just briefly, Commissioner Faulkner, you were talking about going to the Temecula Farmers Market. It is a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful farmers market. I'm a farmers market girl. I have been going there since I was 15 years old. Knew several people who own the stands just over time. And even when I moved away, even in the Bay, went to several other farmers markets. Ours is the best. We have the best farmers market and the best community members that work there who are just so open to conversation and just make you again feel like you're part of a family. So we just wanted to acknowledge that point. Thank you. That's it.
Well, thank you, Commissioner Steve.
Hi there, good evening. So I just want to share a couple of things. First of all, Habitat for Humanity put out a press release on May 20th. They've been working with several different organizations, including California Association of Realtors, the California Building Industry Association, and the CAR Deputy Chief Economist, Oscar Wee. What they did was they sent a copy of the color of law to each of the California legislators, and they got attention. So it was sent with a message of diversity and inclusion and housing with our housing crisis. And it started a really good conversation in Sacramento. So that's something to be really excited about, because we know that we're here doing the work, but there's so many other entities doing the work as well. And it's nice to see us all come together for the same purpose, and many hands will make light work of it for all of us. So we appreciate that. It was very special when I saw that press release come out. Also, in regards to our young students that have blown my mind in the last couple of days, Felicia from Great Oak, Sadako from Great Oak, and from TV, don't want to mess that up, and then Isabella from Great Oak. These students spoke so eloquently. They spoke like they were 25-year-olds. I was blown away. They did such an amazing job, and they had such a pure message. So kudos to their parents. Their causing all of us to have conversations. And I think that's such a beautiful thing. I know I came home from our Juneteenth mural unveiling, and I had a backyard full of 7 teenagers. And I said, who knows about Juneteenth? And so it started a little bit of a conversation out there. And it was interesting that they did know about Juneteenth, but it wasn't taught in school. So that's a little frustrating, but they knew about it. So hopefully at some point we will get to the stage where our history books will reflect all of the history of the United States. That would be a beautiful thing. So then lastly, to kind of echo Commissioner Faulkner's sentiments in regards to the REDI Commission, we are members of this community. We are citizens, and we are here to spread the love to all of the community. We are a diverse group of people from different walks of life. We are here to have awkward conversations, uncomfortable conversations, and we're here to represent the citizens that can't have those conversations because they don't have our platform. So we encourage, when we start going out and meeting people, to have those conversations with us, like what are their concerns? There's been so much negativity and misinformation about the REDI Commission that it's really been heartbreaking. And I actually was at an event a couple of weeks ago, and I was representing the chamber, and I introduced Mayor Marianne Edwards. And after I introduced her, she turned around and she says, does everybody know who this is? This is Jackie Steed. She's one of our REDI commissioners. And it touched my heart because we've kind of been given a hard time, but to know that our city council is happy that we're here and happy that we're representing the city and proud of us, and know that we're doing our best to do the best work for this city really made me happy. And I wanted to share that with all of you. So it's a good day for Temecula. Every day is a good day for Temecula, but especially when we're given the opportunity to have a voice for the right reasons, for the right purpose, and at the right time. So that is it for tonight. Thank you.
Very good. Very good. In the words of Heavy D, we ain't got none but love for you, Temecula. We ain't got none but love for you, baby. We got none but love for you. Really, it is about us loving each other. It's about us loving I'm just on the road, Commissioner Wilson. I'm almost,
Yes, you are. And I was about to say that, but it's your birthday, so we'll, in the famous words of 50 Cent, you can party like it's your birthday after you're done.
Exactly. But we sometimes we do. I love music. For those of you that know, we never did sing to the Double Dutch Bunch to the council. Remember, but we'll be going back in person, so I'll be bringing it. But if for real, in all seriousness, we really do want the community to know REDI is ready to love. REDI is ready to unite. REDI is ready to lift our voices of unity, of inclusion, of I see you, boo, and you see me. You beautiful and I'm beautiful. Can we shine together? I don't, people make things negative that they don't understand or that they fear. So this is a good platform of what we're doing right now, explaining, showing ourselves, letting people see our vulnerability, letting us see us as humans. You may think that I'm being particularly silly. No, I'm just allowing you to see the real me today. I'm allowing you to see the giddy me, the happy me, that I bleed like you bleed, I laugh like you laugh. I'm your everyday person that just want to get to know different people, because then we humanize people, because when we dehumanize them, that's when we discriminate. That's when we hurt people. That's when we marginalize. So REDI commissioners, I want to let you know your presence is bringing humanity to a very controversial subject. So thank you. So I want to say that. I want to ask the question. I keep going to the Juneteenth celebration, but every time I click the link on the website, it doesn't tell me what's going to happen or any additional information. So I want to commend the city for having a Juneteenth celebration, but I personally would like to know more about it and what is it going to entail. Also, I want to recommend a movie from Netflix. It's called High on the Hog. And I watched that movie. That documentary. It talked about the history of African-American food. And I learned a lot of things from my own culture. That's what I'm saying. We don't sit here as the experts. We just sit here as people that's willing to show up and learn and grow together. We represent you, Temecula, and what we need as a collective community, which is understanding of each other and acceptance. So that High on the Hog was good. I'm excited about the fireworks because it says that we're getting back to normal, but what represents Temecula? You all don't know, I'm a true patriot. I've never served in the military, but I cry at the national anthem. I do. I'm your girl. Like my husband and I, we are true citizens of the United States. We love this country, not just Temecula, this country. And there's nothing like a good 4th of July Independence celebration. So I'm so happy we're doing that. Like legit, I'm very happy for that. And thank you for that, City of Temecula. And thank you for the opportunity to serve. I took my children out and we served on Friendship Park. Yes, Commissioner Wilson, you had your hand up?
Yes, I just wanted to add, I forgot to mention this, that the NAACP is doing a Juneteenth celebration in Lake Elsinore Storm. It's called Unity in the Community, and it's on June 18th. And I can send the link to Randy to send out to everyone, but it is going to be a celebration at Lake Elsinore Storm. Thank you.
Excuse me, thank you. And Friendship Park, my children and I, my husband and I, we're going through a lot as a transition as a family, and to be able to be in Temecula and just enjoy simple things. God is blessing us with this city, and we're enjoying all that it has to have. I've lived here for so many years, but I've never been here with my family. I've served here, I've lived here and played other places. And so to play in Temecula and have opportunity to serve and have my entire family, we were just really blessed and honored. And my children cannot wait to see that wall, because they painted and we didn't get paint all over us, Commissioner Wilson. We couldn't believe it either. And so thank you for that opportunity to serve. And it is beautiful. The work, the craftsmanship, the quality. I paid attention because those things matter to me. Temecula, we do things top notch. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. That's good. And then last but not, I have one more announcement. I want to thank Temecula. You all talk, sometimes we don't acknowledge people's efforts because it's not all the way there. And we're not all the way wherever we're going to go on this journey called diversity, equity, and inclusion. But can we just stop and acknowledge the city council and say thank you? And can we stop and acknowledge everyone that's showing up to say thank you? We're here together and we have moved the needle because we're still here. So thank you all. And last but not least, I personally want to give a congratulations to Kevin Hawkins on his fantastic promotion. Well-deserved, Kevin. Well-deserved. And good job, City of Temecula, for promoting from within and giving good people an opportunity to advance. That's equity. That's very, very good. So I want to thank you for that and turn it over to you, Director Joe.
Thank you, Madam Chair. For many of us inside of the City Hall, the promotion of our Community Services Director, Kevin Hawkins, to Assistant City Manager based on the retirement of Assistant City Manager Greg Butler, it was welcome news, and we share in your joy and we congratulate Kevin. We're just so happy for him, and we see his promotion as our promotion.
Yes.
And that is, that's a great thing. I will let you know that the Friendship Park ribbon cutting has been rescheduled to July 15th at 10 a.m. And that just happened very recently, so I want to make sure I put that out there. So it is July 15th at 10 a.m. And then I also want to acknowledge, so Commissioner Harris, I appreciate you referencing the bag of books, because that's exactly what we didn't want to do. So we needed to get a lot of information from you to you. Community Services actually was able to put together some the swag bags, which was a mixture of previous mementos they had, plus their information. And then we took the information from community development that they gave us and put that in there, and other information that I needed to get to you guys and put that in there. And so it was exactly so we didn't leave a bag of books on your porch. So I'm glad you guys enjoyed that. As you may have heard by now, we got direction from the City Council with respect to in-person meetings. So something to look forward to. We still do have one Cal OSHA meeting outstanding next week, but depending upon how things go, right now we are anticipating your first in-person meeting will be in July, unless we receive direction otherwise. So I'll definitely keep you all posted on that. And then it may or may not happen at your July meeting, but it'll probably happen at your August meeting. We will actually be bringing in NLC to directly give you all a training on an actual equity tool and how to use the equity tool in your recommendations. So that particular equity tool, they work with governments, boards, city councils, all of that, all across the nation, and they have some great insight with respect to that. Whether that meeting occurs in person or virtually, because they still have some travel restrictions, I will keep you posted on that as well. But we may end up canceling our regular meeting in August and have a special meeting earlier in the day instead, virtually. So just want to put that on your radar. Not sure how that's going to work out, but that will likely be happening in August. And then the other thing that will be happening in August is your is redistricting as well. So I need to get that process started, and it will start with you all. So just an overview of redistricting and some community outreach recommendations from you all on how we can definitely get the word out and engagement. And then I too want to thank Erica and Chris, as has become custom. Erica, you know I can't do anything that I do without having a solid second, so thank you. And Chris, we might not see you, but we certainly know that you are there. So thank you very much for supporting this platform. And lastly, commissioners, thank you for the invaluable discussion you all had today. I will do my best to capture your sentiment and your wisdom in the draft equity values that we will be bringing back to you, and make sure that your guys' thoughts are incorporated in all of that to the best of our ability. And then anything we miss, we can always change on the fly. So, Madam Chair, that concludes my report. Thank you.
Thank you for your report. And guess what, Ready? We ready to end this meeting. God bless you all, Temecula. God bless you. Have a good weekend, because it's my birthday weekend. You celebrate
Happy birthday.
for me, okay?
Happy
This
birthday.
meeting is
Happy
fantastic.
birthday.
Thank you, guys. And the meeting is adjourned. This was just great. God bless you all. Have a good night.
Bye. Good night.
Bye-bye.